Joining us now, she is the head coach at Charlotte, fresh off a great season, and of course, got there and has had a great career. Was player at South Carolina. I speak of Ashley Chastain, who joins us here and in the circle. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Well, let's talk about obviously a little bit about your program right now. You're starting second season. Does it feel at least a little bit more normal? Because you kind of your run there since taking over Charlotte was unique with obviously COVID and the protocols. You had a short season, and then you had last season with some restrictions and stuff. Describe your first couple of years, if you will, here at Charlotte.
Yeah, it's been really exciting ever since the summer of 2019 when we took over the program. I feel like it's been a whirlwind. It's gone by really fast, but I can't believe we've already gone through abbreviated season and a full season. But it's been really exciting. It's been really exciting to see the program change so much over that amount of time, and we're really, I keep using the word excited, but we've got great energy, just a lot of excitement around the players that we've brought into the program and where the program, is starting to trend.
31 and 19 last season, top three finish in the Conference USA. I feel like, are you feel like you're ahead of schedule where you were with this when you took over this program? Because I think you snuck up on some people here with the success you've had last season in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think coming into the job, I necessarily had any sort of timeline as far as when I thought we would be competitive in our conference or competitive in our non-conference schedule. When I took over the program, we dug in and got to work and knew that we needed to bring in the right people, and that's kind of how we operate. Is we have the right people and you have the right players, you can accomplish anything together. So yeah, I mean, I think that we did kind of probably sneak up some people in Conference USA last year, but we really didn't focus on that at all. I mean, we just come to work every day, come to practice every day, and train the best that we can. And so I attribute the 31 wins last year really to the players and to how hard they've worked over the last 2 years, and how much they've bought into the vision of where we want to go.
Of course, you have success with great pitching. That's the key, and there was no different with your team. Obviously, last season you returned your pitching, in particular, Lindsey Walljasper for an extra year. Just describe her year, because I mean, the last name, people know the last names, they know who she's related to, but she made a name for herself this past season.
Yeah, I was really proud of Lindsey Walljasper. We call her Lou, and just really proud of the role that she took on last year. She pitched a lot for us, led the team on and off the field, and was really, really excited to see all the work that she put in. Day one of fall when she got here, I mean, she just dug in and got to work, and she's a really hard worker. She pays attention to all the little details. Everything matters to her, and that's the way that she trains. And so you could really see that throughout the course of the season, I thought as she got better as the season went along. So yeah, she was a big add for us. I think really respected by her teammates, really respected by people in the conference, and got out there and had a lot of tools to be successful. So she was a big add for us. And I think even in the short fall season that we've had so far, is really like laser focused in on how can she be even better next year. So I don't think that she's really hit her ceiling yet. I think that you're going to see even more success from her this year, just with the focus and the intent that she's had the last few weeks in our bullpens.
Led your team with 15 wins, had 36 appearances, 25 starts, kind of had that 1-2 punch with Madeline Wright. Just talk about the rest of the staff, because I know you've added some arms as well as some arms coming back.
Yeah. Maddie Wright's got a lot of experience for us now. And both Lou and Maddie hit for themselves. And so we manage that on a weekly basis, making sure that they get in offensively what they need to get in, as well as pitching. So just really proud of how they handle that. And, I think they both handle it like pros. We talk a lot about being professional and kind of what that means on a daily behavior. And both of them exude that. I mean, they just act like pros all the time. So Maddie's got a lot of experience for us going into now her third year, and I expect to see her on the field a lot in the spring. She's got a lot of tools, and again, kind of like Lou, kind of going head on into, okay, how can I be even better this year? Because both of them understand that you've got to get better every year. When you pitch a lot in a conference, in a season, it's like, okay, how am I going to be even better against those same hitters next year? So they're looking for an edge always, both of them, and really excited what we added. And we added a transfer from Duke, and Amelia took some time off from softball actually. And in the recruiting process of getting her off the transfer portal, just a different situation for us, bringing in someone to the program that had some time off. So she's been training on her own, and she's ready to compete again. It's been a couple years since she's done that, but she brings in a lot of experience from her time at Duke when they started the program, and she pitched a lot for them that first season. So I think with the schedule that we've built, she's going to have a lot of the similar programs that she pitched against a couple years ago. So I think that experience and that leadership and maturity will add a lot to the circle for us. And then we've got a couple freshmen that have come in that we're really excited about. Brooke Bowling, and really Kari Mitchell. She's not a freshman, but she didn't throw a lot for us last year. So I kind of in my head think that she's, a freshman all over again. Really looking for her to take a bigger role for us in the spring in the circle. Really hard worker, really focused on getting better right now.
When you have somebody you mentioned like Amelia who hasn't pitched in a while, what's the process like? Is it about patience? Is it about what's the key there to kind of with her as opposed to somebody who's been pitching a ton as far as in regular games?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I think right now she's just getting herself back into shape. I mean, she did train on her own for the last couple years, and especially months leading up to her moving to Charlotte this summer. Was really good about communicating with us and making sure she was doing things that she needed to do to train at a high level as if she was on a team. And so she came in ready to go. But yeah, I think her seeing live hitting again, which is the segment that we're about to go into with team practice, is I think putting her up against hitters as much as possible and just getting her back into that mindset of competing against another hitter is going to be really huge over the next 2 months. But yeah, she's dialed in and ready to make a difference and an impact for us. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different of a process, but I think she's ready for it.
Offensively hit 294 as a team, and you were led by Bailey Vanoy, who would be the CUSA Player of the Year, and rightfully so. 387, 13 homers, 36 RBIs, 23 doubles, 767 slugging percentage, 468 on base, 14 steals. Is there anything she can't do? I guess is my first question. And what makes her so good?
Bailey's a special player. She's a really special player. She just, she's got incredible ball strike recognition in the box. It's really hard to get her out. I mean, our own pitching staff works really hard to get her out when we enter squad and when we scrimmage here in Charlotte. But she's just special. She can hit a lot of different parts of the zone. Like I said, she's really good ball strike recognition. And just a ton of power. She can hit to all fields. She's kind of, I think, got some DNA in her that you probably can't teach. She's just really elite in the box, and she leads our offense. I mean, she sets the tone for us offensively at practice. She sets the tone offensively for us when it comes to extra work, what we're doing as a team to get better offensively. So she is our standard. And I think that she's elevated a lot of her fellow teammates in the lineup around her. I think she's elevated their mindset and made them better. And so they get after it. And, our hitting coach, Taylor White, she's incredible. She does an incredible job at preparing them, giving them what they need, and really having an individual relationship with each of them, and knowing what they need when they struggle, knowing what they need at practice. And she just is a rock star. So all their credit goes to her from our offensive success last year.
With all the accolades that she's gotten and buzz, she's probably going to get a lot of buzz going into this new season. Is that something you've talked to her about to make sure that she's, doesn't try to do too much? Because sometimes when players get a lot of accolades and expectations go up, they try to do too much. Is that something you have to bring up with her?
Yeah, it's definitely something we talked to her about last year, and we will continue to message that to her throughout the fall and preseason into January. For us, we take the pressure off, and that's really how we operate as a program. And so with Bailey, I think making sure that she knows that there isn't that expectation from us as a coaching staff or from us as a team. Like, our expectation is just for her to work hard, and to be the best that she can be, whatever that means. And so if that means all the accolades and the recognition, that's great. If it doesn't, at the end of the day, it's about our team and it's about our team winning. And so we message that to her and the rest of the team too. And as a program, we like to be process oriented, and let the results speak for themselves. So that's something else that we really message with Bailey is, hey, just stick in your process, the results will happen. So we just preach that. I tell them all the time, whether you're on the top of your game or, you feel like you're really struggling, the answer is always to work hard and to work harder. And so that's just the mindset that we take. And so we kind of make sure she has good perspective and kind of blinders on just to what her process is and stick with that.
Talk about the rest of your offense. I mean, a good balance there. You return a lot of good key players and have added some new pieces too to it.
Yeah. Courtney Grimion, you transferred from ULL last summer and was a big offensive player for us this year. She had tons of experience coming into our program, and that was when we brought her into the program. I sat down with her and I said, hey, you've got a ton of experience, you've got postseason experience, and that's something that this program needs. It needs that perspective. It needs, that energy. And so I just told her, I said, I want you to show our other players what it's like to get there, what that work ethic means, how you go about your business every single day. How can we do that? And she led us offensively. I mean, Bailey had the recognition, but Courtney was a huge piece of our offense, and she's returning for her last year, her last eligibility year this season. So I'm really excited to see what she does. And we're returning Kaya Garrett, who was a freshman last year, who got tons of experience. I actually sat down with her yesterday in a player meeting, and I said, hey, the biggest thing you have going for you in year 2 is that you got to play a lot year 1, and so knowing what to expect, knowing what the pitching is like, non-conference pitching, conference pitching. And so we just, we are returning a lot. We lost 2 offensive starters in our lineup. And I think with what we've brought in and what we're learning, we're going to cover it and more this spring.
Well, among the names you brought in was Stacey Payton, who's a great player at Ball State. What does she bring to the table? How do you see her in there? You've added Michaela Frazier, obviously, as well. Lexi Wagner from Oregon. You brought in a lot of different talent there, but it speaks to the excitement with your program.
Yeah, I think Charlotte's a place people want to be, and that was one of the reasons. In 2019, when I took over the program, it's one of the reasons the job was attractive to me. It's because I felt like it was a place people wanted to be. We've gone through a rebrand with our university and our athletic department. It's just all of our head coaches and all of our programs here are trending up and doing really well. And so I think when you talk to some of the transfers that we brought in that have been able to make a big difference for us so quickly, they feel that excitement. They feel that breath of fresh air. They feel like they want to be a part of that. They want to come in and make a difference and be a part of what we've got going on. So Yeah, we're really excited about all of the names that you mentioned, specifically Stacey Payton. She's had a stellar career at Ball State, and she actually got into our MBA program here at Charlotte, and it's really tough to get into that program. So we were really proud of her this summer going through that admissions process. But Stacey's got a big presence. She's got tons of great perspective to provide to our team from her career so far. And I think going to be really versatile. I mean, she can catch, she can play most infield positions. So she's obviously a big bat, but I see her on both sides of the ball as a starter all the time, whether she's playing infield, whether she's catching. She's a great person. Like, she's just somebody that you want to be around all the time. And even within a few weeks of fall practice is someone that has garnered the respect of everyone around her, the way that she goes about her business. Michaela Frazier, she was a little bit later in the summer for us. One thing we wanted to focus on going into this recruiting season with the transfer portal was defense. We really felt like that was an area of the program that we could really grow. And so that's why Frazier was really attractive to us, because we felt like she could add a lot defensively to us in the infield. That's proven true so far. I mean, just watching her in skill work with the infield so far, and we actually start team practice today. So I'm really excited to get the whole crew out for our team segment. But yeah, I mean, Frazier, I think, is going to do a lot for us in the infield. And I think she just strikes me so far as someone that's going to be really consistent, just consistent infield, consistent at the plate. She just doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, has, really good, kind of a good mindset with that, just working with her so far. So I think Frazier will be be a big add for us defensively. And then, yeah, Lexi Wagner from Oregon. She's been playing and training in the outfield for us so far, and is really good out there, really, really good out there. Really excited about her. She was a Pennsylvania Gatorade State Player of the Year, I believe, before she went to Oregon. And so just someone that's a winner. I think, you can tell that about her. She knows how to win. That's her expectation. And I think she wants to be really competitive. So someone that I think will find herself in the outfield, and just been a really, really big add for us, all of those guys. I mean, we're excited about every single player that we have on the roster. The roster is pretty big right now. And to be honest, probably a little bit bigger than I ever expected. Looking back over the past 2 years, I didn't think the roster would be as big as it is now. But I mean, the culture that we're building is really competitive, and everybody wants to win and to move the needle forward and continue to get better every single year as a program. And, you can really feel that with this crew. And I think that they're selfless. I think it's never about themselves. That's something that we talk about a lot is, it's always about the team. It's always about each other. It's never about you as the individual. And that's the way that they encourage and go about their work every day.
It's a good problem to have when you have too many talented players. That's a good problem, though, right?
Exactly.
How do you, when you insert the new players, the transfers and the freshmen with the returning players, what's the key to building that chemistry, blending those in? Or do you leave that to the leaders on your team? Is it part of the culture? Like what's the key to blending them in and having that chemistry that you kind of been building?
Yeah, I think time. I think it takes some time to build that camaraderie, that chemistry. So I think from a coaching staff perspective, patience definitely is key there. I think it's built over time. It's not going to happen the first week. It's not going to happen the first month. So we're looking at the process of between now and February when we start competing. And where do we want the team to be then? Okay. And what process is going to get us there? So I think it takes time, and then it takes time spent together. So, we spend a lot of time together, and we have hard conversations as a team. And I'm really big on just not leaving elephants in the room. I think that's really good to get everything out on the table so that the players know exactly what we as a coaching staff think, and give them an open door to speak their minds. They have a lot of ownership and freedom in what happens here, and practice day to day. They get to speak, they get to hold each other accountable. That I think that builds trust and vulnerability, and those are two huge cornerstones of our program. I don't think that you can really build true chemistry if you don't have trust and vulnerability in the program. And those are two words that we lived by last year, that I will continue even with this new team is, hey, we got to trust each other. In order for someone to really trust you, like they've got to know you. They've got to know what you think. You've got to speak. That vulnerability of speaking up and having some freedom and ownership day to day is huge. And so I think everyone on our team feels like that they have a voice. And so I think that's huge in building the chemistry that you're talking about.
We're speaking with Charlotte head coach Ashley Chastain here on In the Circle. Let's talk about what got you interested in getting into softball, first playing softball growing up. You would end up going to South Carolina. What got you interested in playing softball?
Oh gosh, I think I've played ball since I was 4. My dad's a girl dad who had 2 girls. I have a younger sister who's actually getting married in a few months. So we're in the middle of planning that wedding. But he had 2 girls. My dad was a big time athlete, played baseball, football. So I think right away he put us in sports, and we just kind of gravitated towards it, started playing t-ball when I was 4, and my little sister, I think, found herself at the ball field a lot with me. So she naturally just kind of got into it too. And it's just, something we really enjoyed. And, it's fun because whenever we spend time together now as a family, it's, we talk about all the travel ball times, all the trips, all the memories that we made. And then, went to school, played ball, and, had a great experience myself collegiately, and got a master's degree in secondary education. So kind of in my mind, I wanted to be a history teacher, a high school history teacher. So that was the path that I was on, and then kind of got towards the end of that and realized that I wasn't ready to step away from the game. And so decided I wanted to be a coach. And, I'm fortunate enough that Beverly Smith let me stay on as a graduate assistant manager when I was in grad school at South Carolina, and just kind of started from there. And I've been so blessed, and I'm so grateful for the people that I've been around, because everybody that I've been around in my career so far, they've just been rock stars, and they've just, guided me and molded me and mentored me. And so I just feel like, I'm a accumulation of everyone I've been around, the people in my career so far. So wanted to be a high school history teacher and ended up here.
That's kind of wild. I actually studied history myself, and obviously I'm not doing history teaching either. I'm doing softball, so we both have that in common. But when you played at South Carolina, you played for the legendary Joyce Compton and then Beverly Smith. You were there for that transition. Describe your time there playing for those 2 coaches and being a part of that kind of transition.
Yeah, gosh, I wouldn't trade my experience in that transition for anything. I think that experience from Coach Compton to Coach Smith, it's molded so much of the way that I operate and the way that I think. And I took so much from both of them. And obviously to play for a Hall of Fame coach and, someone that completely has changed the game as in Joyce Compton, not very many people get to say they played for someone like that. So I learned so much about, about the game from her. And then when Coach Smith took over the program my senior year, just the transition and the way she came in and, embraced everyone that was there and changed our culture and just kind of revitalized everything that we were doing was really fun. It was really fun. And I think about those times all the time. And I think taking over this program 2 years ago, I used so much of that stuff. Like I didn't realize how much of it I used until I kind of reflect on it. But so much of how she came in and took over that program, I mirrored that when I came here and took over this program. So again, it's just been an accumulation of everyone I've been around, and I've taken so much from everyone I've coached with, worked for. So it's been really, it's been a wild ride so far.
It's wild because Bev Smith has a huge list of a coaching tree of people that have gone into coaching, either that she's coached and they've played for her or even coached with her. What is it about her that draws people to get into coaching? Because I would imagine you being around her got you interested in getting into coaching as time went on, and she gave you that first opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Bev is amazing, and you're right. Like, I think people gravitate towards her. She just has that energy about her. She's so kind, she's so compassionate, but she's really competitive. She's very businesslike, she's very structured. I mean, she has so many great qualities that I think people take away from spending time with her. So she has an amazing coaching tree because people like myself, or even, Chrissy Schoonmaker was around Joyce Compton. We're both Gamecocks, and then transitioned. And I know Scooney works for Bev, and I could go on and on and on of people that are coaching now because of Bev Smith. And she has great perspective. She loves what she does. She's passionate about what she does. And so if you're around her, you feel that, and you're like, I want that. Like, I want to be a part of that, or, I want to take that with me. And so I think she just really is an inspiration for her players, her staff, and the people that she's around. So yeah, she's a great person, a great human.
Now, full disclosure, I actually saw you pitch in person at South Carolina. This was 2010. It was your 2010 season. You're in Orlando. You're playing in the UCF tournament. At that point, I was like in my fourth season of UCF broadcast. I've been broadcasting UCF softball since 2007. That's how I got my start in softball in general. So I remember calling the game, and you're pitching that game against Ashley Cole. You lose the game, but in your defense was not very good at that behind you. They played 3 errors. You lost the game 4-1. But I saw you pitch. That was the first time I heard of you there. You had a great career. Describe Ashley Chastain, the player, for those that did not get to see you play like I did.
I'm just really impressed that you remember any of that. I remember nothing about that experience, but what you just said at UCF. But no, that's really cool. That's a cool story. When I played, actually, Coach Smith nicknamed me Mama Hen. That's kind of the role that I took. I think that I was somebody that made sure everyone was taken care of, making sure, everything was kept tight, the dugouts, the locker room, everyone had what they needed. Everyone knew where to go. Everyone knew what we were wearing. I mean, kind of the logistical side of it. I don't know if that was kind of the teacher in me at the time. I think when Bev took over the program and I spent that last year around her and then my grad year, that's really when I said, okay, I want to coach. Like, I want to be Bev Smith. And so before that, I think all my teaching qualities always came out on the team. So yeah, I was nicknamed Mama Hen, kind of, took care of everyone, made sure things operated and at a certain level. And, but yeah, I'm just really impressed that you remember that. So.
I'm a broadcaster. That's kind of part of my job. I was supposed to remember. And for some reason, as a broadcaster, I can remember things like that. I can't tell you what I ate for lunch last week, but I can tell you that you pitched at UCF in 2010 because I called the game, and it was a good game. UCF had a big year in there, and South Carolina was like a marquee win that year, and you happened to pitch. How is you as a player different from the coach? If I put Ashley Chastain, the player, and Ashley Chastain, the coach, in the same room, how are they alike? How are they different?
I think I think I'm more competitive. I would say I'm more competitive now as a coach than I was as a player. And that's might be a little strange to say, but I would say I'm more competitive now as a coach than when I played. I feel more competitive now. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference. But I think as far as, kind of having eyes on the whole team and making sure everything is being taken care of and everyone's, happy they have what they need to be successful. I would say that part of me probably hasn't changed much from a player to a head coach. So it's always fun for me. We had Carson Pace was on the team year one here at Charlotte in 2019 when I took over. And she was our mama hen. I like watched the team dynamic, and I laughed to myself. I was like, yeah, that was me. She's kind of the one that's taking care of everyone and making sure everything gets done. But yeah, I would say as a coach, I'm a little bit more competitive than I was as a player.
Of course, you did the time in South Carolina. You move on and coach. You go to Charleston for a few seasons, had success there. You go to Michigan State for a year. Talk about those two spots, what you learned there, because I've heard that sometimes when you go to different places, it's a good thing because you learn different things from an experience standpoint. Just describe those two spots, especially Charlotte, where you had a lot of success.
Yeah. So Linda Califatis was my first boss as a full-time assistant. And Linda is a fantastic person, someone that you just love being around. I think the biggest takeaway I took from Coach K is like how to motivate your team in certain situations. She was so good at that. The team, I felt like always could just get on her back and run through a wall for her. They would do anything for her. And so I learned a lot about like how to bring out the best in the team as a whole in adverse times and great times. I mean, she just always knew exactly what to say to them, how to get them motivated, how to get them inspired pre-game, during the middle of the game. So that was her strength was, when the team was needing to hear something, it was always like she knew exactly what to say, and her players loved her. She cared so much about them on a deep level. I mean, she spent a lot of time in meetings and talking to them. So I learned a lot about, just watching her interact with the team as a young assistant, as a first-time full-time assistant. And then I went up to Michigan State and I was around Jackie Joseph, and, Jackie, again, another amazing human being who does things the right way. And I learned so much of the business side of how to run a program from Jackie. Jackie is very, to the point, we need this organized, you have to have paperwork for this, document this. I learned a lot more from her about how to run a program, like, sitting at my desk, like how to be a head coach and all the duties and the kind of the admin stuff that comes into play, that as an assistant, you sometimes don't even know that kind of stuff happens. So I think from Jackie, I really learned more about how to run a program as a head coach from the business side of it. And then I got to Ole Miss, and, that coaching staff, we were really competitive, and I learned a lot about how to run practices and, how to be really detailed in practice planning, development, player training, on that side to be competitive at a really high level. So I just, again, like, I've taken so much away from each stop that I've had.
Well, you mentioned the Ole Miss stop. That was a turning point in your career because you were following Taryne Mowatt, who did a great job there. They had gotten to the Super Regionals in 2017. She goes back to Arizona, and people wondered from the outside, well, that might be it. They might drop back, and now you step in there and you excel. You help them get back to the Supers in 2019, and you get some national recognition as a result. Softball sites, said you were the pitching coach of the year in 2019, and your name kind of exploded. Your peers respected you, but from a national standpoint, you became a big name. You became now a head coaching candidate. Eventually, ended up in Charlotte. Describe following Taryne and the job she did, because that's a pressure cooker when you're following somebody like her, but you excelled, and that was a turning point in your career. Not that people knew you were a good coach, but now everybody with watching you saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you step into the SEC, people wonder how you're going to do. I think, that league is our standard right now, and it's the most competitive league in our sport. So, you step into that league, and either you're really good at what you do or you get out some way, shape, or form. That league forces you to be better. So it was challenging. It forced me to grow in a lot of ways. And I'm really fortunate for my time there. Taryne did a great job. She did a great job with the staff that she had with Caitlin Lee, and put that program on the map really from a pitching perspective. And so when I stepped into that program, I thought it was really important that, I established my own self, my own procedures and, structure and policies in the bullpen and how we were going to do things. I thought it was important not to, not to kind of continue with what she was doing, but to kind of like establish myself with the pitching staff. And to be honest, the first year it was difficult. I came in late too. I think I came in late October, November of the fall. So I missed a lot of the fall when she went to Arizona. And so I think from the beginning, I just sat down with each player, really tried to get to know them, and honestly ask questions of like, okay, what's really worked for you, right? So asking a lot of questions. I think anytime you go into an environment, whether it's an assistant coach, a head coach, whatever it is, whatever you're responsible for, like you need to find as much information out about it as possible. And you cannot do that unless you ask the questions that need to be asked from the people that are there. So asked a lot of questions, figured out what was working for some of those pitchers there. And then, definitely added my own procedures and philosophies and stuff to the system. So we didn't carry on with the same system, but I think started to try to build that relationship right away. And then, Caitlin Lee had a lot of success. And the staff and the pitchers there were great about welcoming me with open arms and saying, okay, like we're ready for the transition, right? They loved Taryne. They were really successful, but they were also really, really good about welcoming me and being open to what I brought to the table at that point. And Caitlin was leading that charge. I mean, she was ready to learn, ready to be better, ready to step up, and do more than the program had ever done before. And then with Brittany Finney, I think she saw the best of her career at the end. We finally broke through with her from the pitching side, and she had a stellar senior year. Just was an incredible talent out there. And then Molly Jacobson was new. We got her in the spring of my first year from DMAC. And then obviously Molly had a great career at Ole Miss and then went to Texas and just was a stud. So yeah, it was a challenging transition, but you just go in it with open arms and open mind and a lot of confidence to be yourself, and collect as much information as possible.
Worked out well. You win a regional at home and a dramatic regional against Louisiana. You get to the supers. Ironically, they pair you up with Arizona, so you're up against Taryne there. But you got to the super regional. As I mentioned earlier, you got a lot of recognition. Your softball sites were, awarded you like pitching coach of the year and things like that. What was that like to get those accolades? And then obviously you became a head coaching candidate, and Charlotte opens up, and obviously that ends up being the spot that you decide to get your head coaching job.
Yeah, it was just really fun, honestly. Like the rewards and the recognition stuff. Like I remember more of what we did as a team. The experience of winning the regional and going to super regionals. That means so much more, and I learned so much from that. Like strategy, coaching in the dugout. Those decisions that were made that will stick with me the rest of my career, and that made me a lot better. So I remember a lot more of that. And it's funny because Courtney Grimion was on ULL's team when we beat them at Ole Miss. So we still joke about that. We still talk about it all the time of how intense that whole weekend was and how fun it was and competitive. But it was a really fun couple years at Ole Miss. And I knew I've always wanted to be a head coach. And I thought it was really important to make sure that the first place that I took that on really fit me and what I was looking for and what I think you need to be successful. So I had looked at some other head coaching jobs, the previous years, and had been offered a couple head coaching positions and just felt like it didn't fit me and what I thought was non-negotiable to be successful. And so when Charlotte came to the table, I came and I saw it and I compared it to those lists of things that I have, like, hey, you kind of need these things to build a program and be successful. And it checked all the boxes. And then coming here, the people here are incredible. I mean, they just have such a vision. And honestly, for us being a non-Power 5 school, we operate daily like a Power 5 school. And that's been a huge difference for us, and just vision and mindset from our AD, Mike Hill, who came from Florida. He was at Florida for 20 something years, and that's how he operates here. And he's hired, I think, 6, maybe now 7 head coaches since he took over this athletic program in 2018. And just the vibe and the energy of us, all of our programs, all of our head coaches, it's contagious. And we believe here winning breeds winning. And so if everyone is on that train and everyone is winning, that just elevates everybody's program. And Mike instills that in us all the time as a head coaching body here at Charlotte. So I think, taking the program over 2 years ago, it checked a lot of boxes to something that you could build and be really successful. Charlotte's my favorite place I've ever lived. I love it here. It's a fantastic city. It's like the 14th largest city in the country. Tons of pro sports teams, tons of resources. It's a great place. And now post taking the job 2 years later, it's exceeded my expectations. It's beyond anything I could have ever dreamed of or ever thought of. The people, the players, the program, the city. I love everything about it. And, I think when we've gotten some transfers that have made big differences for us, freshmen out of high school, we just recruited a fantastic 23 class, still in the process of doing that. Like, I think when those people come here and they talk to other head coaches here in our department, our AD, people that are involved with our athletics program, and then we take them into the city of Charlotte, and it's just they feel it. They can see what we're talking about. They feel what we're talking about, and they want to be a part of it. And so it's a cool place. I've been telling people for a couple of months, like, I really feel like it's the right time to be at Charlotte, in this city, in this athletics department, in our program. And so we're really excited about the future and continuing to move the needle forward.
In fact, I read, I think recently you signed an extension through 2026. And that speaks to the commitment they have for softball. It speaks to the commitment and what they feel about the job you've done. And it's also, they feels like, quite honestly, because you've become, again, a hot name. Every time a coaching job opens, your name comes up. But now, by signing that extension, that's kind of a message that, no, we're committed here, and really you're in a good league too, in Conference USA, where you could do some success in a program that's on the rise as an athletic department, as you've mentioned.
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful for the extension, to Mike and our Chancellor Gaber, and all the work that they've done to grow our softball program. And you're right, like, it speaks volumes to how committed they are to what we're doing. And that is real. It's not just, words that, we talk about. Like, I feel that every day from them, that support and just the vision that they have for where they want our program to go. And so, yeah, I think it's a huge step for our program. It's a huge step for recruiting for us. And I am just so humbled and honored and grateful for that. And, I think about, and I say this sometimes, I'm like, hey, don't mess with happiness. I mean, I'm just so happy here and so happy to lead this program and with what we're doing. And I have an incredible staff. I work side by side every day with incredible people, really, really talented coaches and minds in our game, but also people that I love being around, and some of my best friends. And it just, I've never had this much fun coaching. I love getting in my car every day and coming to work. And so signing the extension, it was a really easy decision for me, and honestly, my focus is in the now, in the present. Like, right now, how can we build this program to be the best it can be today, next week, next month? And so, to even think about 25 and 26, and we are thinking about the future, because that's recruiting, right? So we're always recruiting the future, but we're really excited about right now. The current team, we've got our 22 class about to sign this fall. We're thrilled about those guys. And then obviously we just started recruiting the 23s. the juniors, and we are pumped about the commitments we've gotten so far from our class too.
Mention your staff. Talk about your staff and how your vision, how you were able to build your staff. Because you mentioned Taylor Wickey's one of the top hitting coaches in the sport. It's underrated there. Just Jody Davidson obviously is on your staff as an assistant. Just talk about how you kind of your vision, how you came up with your staff.
Yeah, well, I'm a pitching coach, so right away I knew I needed someone to do the offense, to run the offense, because that's just not me. That's not my strength. The way that I operate is I want to be able to give full autonomy and delegate things. So the offense is Taylor. She does what she wants with it, and we support her and give her what she needs to run a really high level offense day to day, which means I throw a lot of BP, and we have a lot of people on staff that throw a lot of BP because that's important to her and to our success. But so right away I knew I needed an offensive coach, and you call your people. I mean, that's what you do when you need something. So I called Bev. I called all the people I've worked for, all the people I respect in the game, and I said, hey, if you were going to hire a hitting person, an offensive coordinator, who would you hire? And so you definitely interviewed some people, but Taylor is from North Carolina, and I've never lived in North Carolina until obviously 2 years ago when I came here to Charlotte. The pride that people have from this state, it's really cool. There's tons of universities. It's really competitive. Recruiting's really competitive. And so I felt like Taylor being from North Carolina, her knowing the travel ball system better than I did. I'm from Atlanta, so I know that system really well. And obviously being at College Charleston, Michigan State, and Ole Miss, we recruited nationally at all of those places. So I had built, West Coast connections, Texas connections, connections recruiting all over. But I felt like Taylor brought North Carolina to the table, and that was really, really important to me. So far our 23 class is heavy North Carolina, which I think is a huge. You're starting to see the benefit of her and knowing, her knowing the state and just having all of those connections. But anyways, yeah, she's from here. She loves it. She was at South Carolina when I hired her as Bev's volunteer. And so, calling Bev, I knew that she'd been around great people. I knew I could trust her. I knew that she was going to work really hard because, those are the things that Bev told me. And so Taylor went down and did a great job at South Carolina. She played for Donna Papa at North Carolina. So she's just been around really high level coaches, high level programs. And so when I sat down and had dinner with Taylor in the summer of 2019, it was an easy decision. It was yeah, she's the person for the job. It was awesome. And the kids, when I say the kids, the players, they love her. I mean, they love her. She, like I said earlier, she builds that, individual connection with them. She just really can connect and relate to them. They see her as such a mentor, and that's really important to have on the staff. I've learned that as a head coach, and now the assistant really has to be the bridge between all parts of the program, the players, the head coach, the culture. I mean, they're so integral in the trenches every day. So that's Taylor. She does such a good job of that. And she's an hour from her parents. She gets to see them all the time. It's just a really good situation for her too. And she loves Charlotte. She has a ton of friends here, being from North Carolina and going to Chapel Hill. So yeah, it's been awesome working with her every day. And then Jody Davidson came with me from Ole Miss. So Jody was a really good friend of mine. He was the director of operations at Ole Miss for years. And I think really decided personally that he wanted to be more of a coach than on the operational side, and came here as our third assistant in our volunteer role. And I promoted him this past summer to a full-time role. And Jody is just the jack of all trades. I mean, he has a really unique skill set to be a full-time assistant because he was in operations for so long. I mean, Jody is like Mr. Fix-It. He knows everything about anything. He knows everything about technology, computers. If anything breaks, he's kind of taken on the player development side of all the tech we use, 4D Motion, Rapsodo, Blast, flight scope. I mean, anything that we have and operate, Jody runs that because he's so good at the tech part. He runs our outfield. He runs our base running. He's just now diving into off-campus recruiting this summer when we promoted him to full-time. But even before he was full-time, he had a huge hand in recruiting of what he could do on campus. And he's a people person. People gravitate towards him. He's got great energy. He's personable, and more than anything, as a head coach, he's loyal and he's he's trustworthy, and all the things that are just, you can't put a price tag on that stuff. When you work with people every day that just have your back.
No, it's tremendous staff, and that my last question to you. Obviously, one of your goals is to compete to win that Conference USA championship. You were in the mix last year. Obviously, it's a competitive league with North Texas is always good there with the job they do. Western Kentucky, Coach Tudor, the job she's doing there, and they won the tournament last year. UAB, Joe Guthrie, which he's building, on and on and on. What's the keys for your team between now and February? What are some of the keys that will be a factor in having the success and accomplishing your internal goals?
I think as far as on field, I think defense is a huge focus for us. Like I kind of spoke a little bit of that earlier in our conversation. We are constantly evaluating every single thing that we do. And that's the way we operate as a team. So even after every practice, we evaluate what we did. What was our work like? How can we be better? We have those conversations as a team, as a staff. So leaving last season, going into this season, defense, like we got to be better defensively. So that's a huge focus for us this fall, is just making sure that we're where we need to be to compete with North Texas and what Rodney's doing, with Western Kentucky, what Amy's doing, with UAB and what Joe's doing. And, and I think that there's other programs in our conference that are also on the rise too. So yeah, I think defensively is a big focus for us this fall, and improving in that side of our game. But yeah, I mean, Conference USA, the top of it is really competitive, and we want to establish ourselves as, a top contender in our conference every year. And I have a ton of respect for Rodney, Amy, Joe, Megan at Marshall. We've got some new coaches in the league. So it's a fun conference. It's a big conference, geographically and numbers wise. So there's a lot going on with it, and we have a ton of respect for everybody in the conference. And so we know that day to day, we're going to have to operate very professional, very high level to establish ourselves as, a championship contender in this conference. And that's what we speak. That's our language. And that's how we go about our business each day.
Well, we look forward to it. We look forward to seeing your team once we get to February on the field. But in the meantime, I appreciate you taking the time from the busy schedule. It was cool to get to talk to you after calling one of your games and crossing paths through mutual friends in the past. It was good to catch up with you, and appreciate it. And we'll definitely talk to you down the road.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate the time and the exposure for our program and everything that you're doing to grow our game. So thank you so much for having me on.